Today on the sofa, I have the lovely Lettie Blackett. We met last year when we started running our bi-monthly London pop-up events at London Scottish House. London Scottish House is a hub for the Scottish community in London and both supports and celebrates the Scottish culture, heritage, sports, and the arts, as well as giving Scots a place to gather socially. How are you today, Lettie?
I'm great, thank you so much. How are you?
Very well, thank you. It's lovely to see you. I know we've not been able to make it down for a few months now. No holidays in London for me and Anna.
No, and we've missed you. I mean, it's been very quiet, London in general, because the whole world has shut down. So we can't wait to welcome our partners like you back into London Scottish House and start our pop-ups again.
Yeah, definitely. We love having the opportunity to explore London and make the most of the UK's capital city when we're visiting. Have you always been based in London?
No. So, believe it or not, I grew up in Scotland. My voice does not tell you this. I moved there when I was two, and grew up in Braemar in Aberdeenshire. So it's a tiny little village in the middle of nowhere. Completely did not appreciate where I was growing up, and didn't appreciate it until I left. So I moved to London 7 years ago, in kind of in quest for excitement and the big city. I lived in Glasgow for a year before that, but London did have a kind of a different draw. So yeah, 7 years.
Wow, 7 years a Londoner. And what brought you to London? Was it just looking for something bigger, or did you have the job lined up already?
No, so as I say, I was working in Glasgow before, and I wasn't really finding the jobs that were setting my soul on fire. And I can't really say that my first job in London did that either, but it got me on the ladder. So I worked in HR for the first couple of years of my career, in different companies and different roles. Gained lots of experience, but again knew that people was my focus, and that London was a really exciting, and although it wasn't necessarily the place that I envisaged as a child that I'd be going, it's the place that the longer I spent there, the more I realised that it's got so much potential.
Oh, no, it's such a lovely place. And where it's located, where London Scotch House is located as well, is just such a lovely area. So has your family always celebrated their Scottish roots? And what does your heritage mean to you?
Yeah, so as I say, was not born in Scotland, but I do classify myself as a Scot for two reasons. One, I grew up there. That's all I remember. My childhood was very much heavy Scottish. We did Highland dancing. All of that stuff, head to toe in tartan all the time. I remember when I was little, we did a little Highland Games, where we had a stag's antlers, and we used that as bagpipes. So yeah, I mean, growing up there has always been part of who I am and part of who my whole family are. So we would all say that we are very much Scottish, but I'm also lucky that both of my parents individually have got Scottish heritage. So my mum is a Forbes and my dad is a Stewart, and they've always been quite proud of that. I think when they moved to Scotland, it was because of my dad's job, and they wanted to go for the freedom and the most like the countryside and the quality of life. And we definitely got that. And so celebrating my Scottish heritage has not been hard.
No. When I was last down, were you saying your dad's now a tour guide in the area?
Yes, yeah. So he retired. He was a land manager for one of the big estates up there, and he retired 6 years, 5 or 6 years ago. And my mum basically said he can't just rattle around the house. He's got 25 years of experience of that area. So it's Royal Deeside, and it's a very special place. It's getting a lot more tourism now. It's always had tourism as the main source of income. The Queen being just down the road in Balmoral has always brought people. But most recently, there's been some development in the village with the Five Farms Hotel, and that has completely revitalised. And so as part of that, my dad kind of was kind of pushed, not pushed, but kind of encouraged by my mum to not twiddle his thumbs too much. He's very much a doer, and he likes being out and active. And we could see the more people that we were bringing, you know, new boyfriends or whoever, friends and stuff like that, we'd bring, and he would just light up when he talked about the area, and he had such a great knowledge. So he started Yellow Welly tours a couple of years ago. He has always worn these bright yellow wellies, and so it was a no-brainer that he was gonna, if he was going to start a company, it was going to be Yellow Welly tours.
I just realised Yellow Welly tours were doing the tours for Royal D-Side, for Clan Farquharson's online. Yeah, we did for a sponsor for the conference.
Amazing.
That's fab, really. Back to on topic. How did you first get involved with London Scottish House?
So I've been with London Scottish House for 2 years. I completely fell into it. I went to a recruiter saying, I need a job where I feel like I am making a difference, doing something I care about. And the recruiter basically said, I have just the thing. It's right at the beginning of a big change, so you're going to need to just bear with me. And I took a little bit of a leap of faith. So I started as relationship manager, and my role was a part of this big change, making what was the London Scottish Regiment headquarters into this hub and home for Scotland and London that was embracing our regimental and our military roots, but also looking at all of the different aspects of what it is to be Scottish, while encompassing the local Westminster community. And as you said in your intro, focusing on sports and culture and arts and heritage and business and things like that. So it was just an opportunity that I couldn't really turn down. But I didn't know about London Scottish House for I think it was 5 years that I'd lived in London before that. So it was a really, I think, a stroke of luck that I was just looking for the next adventure at the right time.
A bit of serendipity. You've certainly done a fabulous job. There's always so many interesting characters wandering around the halls of London Scottish House. I've had the privilege of meeting a few, even managed to bump into a fella who had served in the army alongside my granddad. Love hearing the pipes and drums practicing in the drill hall on a Thursday as well, although I have unfortunately missed out on some of the Six Nations on a Saturday morning. Is it usually, or Sunday?
Yeah, so that we did that earlier this year. We were lucky that COVID only cut off the last few matches, but we did live streaming and had food on offer in the lounge for the Six Nations, so that was good.
Well, it's fab. It gives you an opportunity to cheer on Scotland well in England and not get some dodgy looks.
Exactly.
What is the most rewarding part of your role, would you say?
Oh, rewarding. I think it's when you start talking to people, because my job is very much people focused, and it's sharing who we are, and it's kind of seeing my passion catch on and leaving that conversation with them feeling excited about what we're doing. And I'm yet to finish a conversation that hasn't ended with the other person excited about the prospect of us just celebrating Scotland. And you know, we do a lot of different things, and that it's quite complicated to sit and talk about. But if someone comes away feeling good about it, that makes me feel like I'm doing my job. So yeah, I definitely think that's probably the most rewarding, is other people getting excited too.
Definitely. It's hard not to get excited when you're in there. Can you tell us a bit about the evenings you host? I know you've hosted some big events. I've definitely felt very underdressed while leaving in the evening after a long day's work, and then finding London's best dressed driving for banquets.
So we host community events. I think that's kind of the avenue you're going down at the moment. So we put on events, and the Six Nations screenings are part of that kind of program. Anything and everything that people might enjoy, get benefit from, that's the kind of events that we want to offer our community, because we want to be that place where they feel like they're at home. When I moved to London, I did feel like there was kind of that lack of feeling my Scottish heritage was, there's an Irish centre and a Welsh centre, but there was nowhere for a Scot to go and feel like they were at home. And so we're trying to do lots of different types of events so that people can really get involved, get some, maybe education, or just shouting Scotland at the top of their voices. So yeah, Kaylee's. We've done yoga. So we had Finley Wilson from Kilted Yoga come and do a session in January. And unfortunately, our next session, which got hit by COVID, so we weren't able to do it. But as soon as we're able to get him back to London, I think that, the travel restrictions is what's kind of holding it up at the moment. But that definitely was something that was very popular. I don't think anyone had ever done yoga in the drill hall of London Scottish House before, and it was quite memorable and pretty fantastic.
What a venue for it as well, though. I was quite recently, and we were thinking, next time we come down, if I can try and get in there and have a bit of yoga practice as well. I don't think I'll do it in a kilt, though.
No, not potential. I don't think anyone did it in a kilt.
So as well as hosting your own events, you hire out rooms and halls for businesses like us and for Finley as well. I know you always feel very at home hosting our pop-up events, and we always feel really at home, kind of get in, fling the windows open and get set up. It feels like an extension of Scotland Shop, which is really lovely. We really appreciate it, especially because there's always you or Laura coming along going, just make sure you help yourself to
come.
do you have any favourite visitors in particular? You don't have to say us.
Oh, you guys. We've been very lucky over the years because I think it's partly because of where we are, that we've had this kind of, before the change over the last couple of years, we've had a slight trickle of the government and things like that coming in. But more recently, we've had BBC Question Time. They came in January, which was, again, I think when you watch BBC Question Time, you don't necessarily see much of the surroundings because they've got their big, they've got their big boards, and the seating takes up a lot of space. But we were quite lucky that because of the way that the drill hall is set up, you can't hide from the beauty of it. It's right there. So that's very special. And yeah, I think that's probably the most exciting. We've also had one of our neighbours is Burberry. And so we've had them come in quite. They do more team building activities in the drill hall and training and things like that. But that's pretty cool to, growing up, everyone knows who Burberry is. So that's quite cool that we get to host them.
No, it's something we get asked about quite a lot as well, as the Burberry Tartan.
Yeah.
It's quite amazing to go from Question Time to Kilted Yoga to Burberry team building.
You can basically do anything.
Do you need to be Scottish to join in the London Scottish community, or how would you get involved?
Absolutely don't need to be Scottish. A lot of our community aren't. They're either interested in it or they have an interest in one of our different facets that we do. So they might be a Scottish-owned business, but they've got people down in London and they need meeting rooms or things like that, or they're just looking for space because we've got very, very flexible space. We've got meeting rooms that can be hired by the hour, but all the way up to a drill hall that we can be hired for the whole day to do a fashion show or whatever. So there's absolutely no precursor that you have to be Scottish, but an interest in it is normally the route in. I think that's one of the things that sets us apart, is that we've got that history and heritage, and that's something slightly different. So a lot of people just get in contact with us because they have either passed the building, because we're on Horseferry Road, which is just off Victoria Street, 2 streets away from the Home Office. So we have a lot of businesses. There is a lot of residential kind of to the south of us. So there's a lot of different sorts of people that come and walk by. We are quite heavily involved with Westminster Council as well. And so they, because we are a social enterprise, we're run as, we're a trading company, but all of our profits go to our stakeholders, and the stakeholders are charities. So we are able, one of our aims is that we support charities and small businesses and the local community. And so Westminster Council obviously love that. And, you know, just to get involved, either give me a call and I'll talk you through what we can offer, or just head onto the website. We've actually just launched the new website earlier this month, and it's quite exciting because now you can book everything online. There's a lot of information about the different things that we do, and I think it looks beautiful. I'm really pleased with it. I mean, it was my project, but I love it.
Sometimes you just have to toot your own horn. It looks so, it can be so difficult to adapt when something like COVID happens, and you know, people can't just pop their head in. You know, they might have to book online for the first time. So you've made it really, really easy. I know we had to move our appointments completely online, so we've been doing virtual video calls, not unlike this, but I'm not about to pass you a tape measure. Choose a card. But it, you know, it's filling that gap, and it looks fab as well. It's really, really good.
Thanks.
So your aims and objectives might have changed a little bit over the last few months, but looking ahead to more normal times, how do you see London Scottish House developing?
Yeah, so we definitely have had to shift slightly. Obviously, we've had no events of any scale really for since March, but we are putting a kind of slightly heavier focus on the business side. So our office services that we offer are what we think people need and people want, because it's very flexible. So you sign up for a registration fee, which gives you access to the building, but you might be sitting in Inverness and very rarely come to London. It's just that you would like to be part of this community, have access to the members of the community, but also feeling connected. So when you do come to London, you've got somewhere to come. You can sit in the kind of lounge area for free and sit and use the Wi-Fi and chat to other members and have a cup of coffee. But then you can also step up and take a virtual address. So if you want to put it on a business card or your letterheads, you can say, I've got an office in London, this is where it is. And that means that if one of your potential customers or clients, you want to have a meeting, you can say, come to my London office. They don't need to know that you aren't based there or anything like that. So and then it goes all the way up to just hiring the whole place out. So we've got, it's flexible because that is who our members are and who the community is. They need flexibility, and they need it to be, you know, we want to be able to welcome everyone, and not everyone can say, right, well, I'll hire the drill hall for the whole job, because they don't need it. We want to be able to say, right, well, you can just have access to the community and do as much or as little as you like. And I think that we are lucky that that hasn't changed too much from what it was before COVID. It's just been more stark that the business side is definitely going to be more needed for our community than potentially the large scale events, especially in the short term.
Yeah, definitely. But what I love as well, when we come down to visit, and you've always got these lovely rooms set aside for us, but in between, it's not a boring room. There's so much to see, so much to look at, and it feels just a bit more homey because it's not an empty room. You know, even the chairs are lovely to sit in. There's, you know, beautiful paintings to look at. Or I've got a little bit of a military interest because of my granddad's background, so I always like to have a little look around and have a little look, especially at all the Black Watch memorabilia as well, and of course London Scottish Regiment. Although I am a little bit terrified of the horse head outfit.
Pantomime horse.
He's a wonderful pantomime horse, but I was not expecting that when I rounded the corner.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah, no, I mean, that's something I think that nobody expects, is that we have a museum for the regiment, and it's like pantomime horse that are really makes it so special that you can, as you say, all of the rooms are slightly different. They've got so many artifacts in there that tell the story of the regiment and makes you feel like you're somewhere quite special. I definitely felt that the first time I went in. I remember walking around the drill hall being like, wow, this is so cool. To my prospective employers, I was standing there, this is so cool. Obviously it works.
We drove our Tartan van down the first time we came down, and I was there with my boss going, this is a really special building. It has so much character.
Yeah, it does.
While we're on the subject of slightly less professional side of things, I do get married soon. Congratulations. How have plans gone so far with kind of COVID making changes?
Yeah, so I should be married by now. It was supposed to be in June, but as with so many others, we had to take the decision that it was not safe for us and our guests. I mean, in June we would have been able to just get married legally with 2 witnesses, and that's it. And that wasn't the day that we imagined. So we've postponed the whole big wedding to next June, and then we're really hoping we can just legally get married and have a small reception with our close family and some friends in October. So we're really praying that Nicola says that we can have at least 30. We just want 30. We don't need that, just that max at 30. So it was supposed to be where I grew up in Braemar, at Crathy Church, where the Queen goes, where I grew up. So it's a great pull for all of our guests, but it's home for me. We talked about just getting married in England and doing it near my partner's parents, just so that we could just bloody do it. And we both agreed. I'm very lucky to be marrying an Englishman who is completely obsessed with Scotland as well. So he completely understands that actually getting married up there is a huge part of us and what we want our marriage to be. So we're still waiting.
I'll keep you in my thoughts for October. Are you planning on incorporating any of Tartan or the heritage into the big day itself?
Absolutely. So, as I say, I'm very lucky to be marrying an Englishman who loves Scotland. So he's got himself some trews made in my mum's Forbes tartan, and he looks great. I love it, man and tartan. And we obviously getting married in Scotland, having that part, it's a big part of it. You guys helped me source some material for my bridesmaids to wear some tartan hairbands, which I don't think I've ever seen at a wedding before, especially not on adults. But hairbands are big at the moment, so
Cambridge, she's been wearing lots of lovely headbands lately.
No, tartan ones. Is she wearing tartan ones?
Not tartan ones, no. But she's been wearing the lovely big ones. Are absolutely beautiful.
It's the tartan ones that I think I'm really excited about these. I think the girls love them, and although they're not their family tartans, because they've all got Scottish heritage apart from one of them, I know that it's beautiful colours, but it's special for them as well. So hopefully they'll wear it again, and then we'll have. We're kind of in debate about whether we're going to have a full pipe band or just one or two, but definitely going to have some pipes and drums music. And we're also going to have ceilidh, which is a big reason why we didn't want to just have a little wedding. We really want our friends to just have the best Scottish wedding they can, and we know we can throw it. So fingers next June now.
Especially for your partner's side of the family as well, to kind of welcome them in through a ceilidh. It's the best way to get people involved. It's so much fun.
Exactly. We're actually practicing the my boss Alistair, who's the CEO, he very kindly said that we could use the hall to teach our friends who don't know how to reel. So we before COVID hit, we had some practices scheduled for May. Obviously those got cancelled, but we'll do it again for next year. We're just so lucky that I work in a place where we're able to celebrate that kind of thing and share it, and then also we can transfer that into our wedding.
Yeah, that's fabulous. I love that idea. Good excuse to get everyone together beforehand as well.
We'll open the bar and it'll be great.
Exactly. It's a lovely bar in there, actually. Very nice. When were you last in Scotland?
Yeah, so I'm actually going this weekend because my sister was supposed to be getting married next weekend.
Oh.
That's 2 weddings in our family that got postponed. So we're all going up to kind of be there for it. But I was there just after lockdown. Kind of had to escape up there because that's where we felt we needed some freedom and mountains, and that's what drew us. And obviously wanted to see my parents as well, and my dog I grew up with. Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining me today and sharing your insights and stories. I wish you all a safe next few months. Hopefully things can continue to improve, and then we can hop on the train with our tartan masks and head down and see you.
Thank you so much.
Oh, it's been lovely to speak with you. I haven't seen you either since we were
really nice to see you.
Like with an old friend. Thank you so much.
Thanks. Bye.